We're learning new details about technology which could prevent another plane from suffering the same mysterious fate that Flight 370 suffered from. Our Brian Todd is here. His team is uncovering some documentation on this new cutting-edge program. Brian, what are you learning?
Wolf, we found documents for a patent that Boeing applied for 10 years ago. It's for a system that could enable a plane to be flown by remote control from the ground in an emergency. The system hasn't been deployed. One of our experts says if it had, this Malaysia Airlines incident may well have turned out very differently.
A lost signal, a vanished plane, and on the ground, a feeling of complete helplessness. But an idea has circulated to put autopilot on passenger planes on remote control in stressful situations. In 2004, Boeing applied for a patent for a system referred to as uninterruptible autopilot.
The ground controller could now take control away from the pilots so that they wouldn't have control over the throttles, over the yoke, over the rudder pedals, and now this would be handled by the ground. So everything now that the pilots would try to do would be inconsequential.
With this idea, pilots could flick a switch when under stress. Sensors in the cockpit could go off. Or sensors on the cockpit door could activate the ground autopilot if a certain amount of force was used against the cockpit door. Then ground operators could take control of the plane using radio or satellite signals and steer it to a predetermined airport. They'd be flying it almost like a drone. If Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 was hijacked, or if a member of the crew purposely did something to alter the path, could this have saved that plane?
If in fact they determined that it was a problem, and they try to get in touch with the pilot and the co-pilot and they couldn't, then if that system were in place, it seems as though the ground controller could then have landed this aircraft.
Right now, autopilot systems are manually switched on and off only at the discretion of the pilots in the air, and autopilot cannot land or take off. But this potential solution could also present a new problem.
This wouldn't necessarily be hack-proof, right?
This system wouldn't necessarily be hack-proof, and so terrorists might be able to get into this data stream and force the plane to land or do whatever they wanted it to do.
Has Boeing advanced this idea from 10 years ago? Is the company still testing it out, or has it scrapped the idea entirely? We tried multiple times to get information from Boeing on this project. The company would not speak to us about it. Wolf.
So basically the technology would convert an airliner into a remotely piloted vehicle like a drone.
Absolutely it would. It would be flown like a drone by remote control from the ground, and they say they could even land this plane and possibly activate like an emergency brake system on the runway. It's incredible technology if it can be tested and deployed properly. We don't know anything about it because Boeing's not talking to us about it.
All right, Brian, good report. Thanks very much.